Hello, everyone, and welcome to Cogs of Community, Rotary Halifax Harbour. My name is Thomas, and we're really excited today to be joined by our club president, Dave, who's going to be talking to us about a few different things. We're going to be touching on things that have happened over the last 6 months, particularly on the Million Impact Club. We're going to touch on some things about our meetings, meeting attendance. January being vocational month, we'll touch on some of the things that's important to talk about in January. Board leadership, club leadership, that's all kind of included in that. And then, of course, we're going to see some of the things that Dave has in store for us. Well, not just him, but our club, both vision and some exciting things that are happening over the next 6 months. So let's start off by wishing you a very happy new year, Dave. And why don't you start by telling Happy New Year? Where are you, Dave?
Okay, so actually I'm currently in Trinidad. So it's not as cold. It's on the other spectrum of being cold, but a happy new year to everyone. Pleasure, looking forward to 2025. Not only the next 6 months, but the entire year.
You started off the year by talking about the Million Impact Club. And why don't you just remind folks what the Million Impact Club is?
The Million Impact Club just looks, as it says, at a measure of the impact. So it could be in different things. It could be in terms of hours of engagement, impacting people's lives. And it sometimes will also be reflected in dollar amounts. But what we look at is what that dollar amount contributes in terms of an overall project. So our impact is such that it is going to be spread and optimized, as it were, for the beneficiaries of our involvement in our community.
Yeah, and so impact is such a cornerstone of what Rotary is all about. So a Million Impact Club is an excellent goal. It's probably a little bit hard to nail down the very specific level of impact. And can you explain why we look at our sphere that Rotary is, but impact goes far beyond the things that we do and the individuals we interact with directly?
One of the targets that we had is a program that was 2 years ago. We were doing 20 Christmas hampers in Spryfield. And then the following year, we increased it to 40 by including Christmas hampers out to Uniacke Square. And this year, we were able to do and deliver 100 hampers across 5 organizations and 5 community groups. So the impact there touched 500 lives. Again, we start to see what I'm saying about whatever we do, that there's a multiplier effect to it, so that the impact is not only in terms of a hamper. And when we say a hamper, this is a hamper that is valued somewhere around $85 to $90 in terms of the total package. So you can do the math and see that really resonated well with the community.
Getting supplies for 100 hampers is no small feat, and we got a lot of help from volunteers. And in the past, we asked members to bring in food items. It is simply not possible on a project this scale. And what's amazing about how we as a club have partnered with the West, and like you said, who essentially gave us a space within their hotel for us to bring all this food item for 3 days, to bring all this food items in, to pack it. And according to Bob, that's over 1.5 tons of food items. This isn't something you're getting in the back of your Nissan. This is a ton of food. It needs a lot of prep, a lot of packing, and then they'll have to get delivered.
So what it did is it brought together a number of volunteers as well from within the club. One of our members was actually packing 100 bags of potatoes, a 10-pound bag. It really brought the fellowship together. So this was an amazing part of that Million Impact. So it just brings some joy.
That's great. And if anyone wants to take a look at some of the things that we've been doing, our social media channels are the best place to go. There's normally pictures and videos and highlights. And folks can also take a look at our website, rotaryhalifaxharbour.ca, and just click on the About and then News to see all the different things we've been doing.
I can touch on another one where we provide snacks and lunch for the kids at Joseph Howe Elementary. What we're now doing is providing the snacks in the morning for the kids there. so that they are able to get the learning that they want on a full stomach, or at least get some levels of nutrition increase. So that's also a bigger cause that we continue as one of our continuous projects. Whilst we have highlighted some others in our social media, these are actually great ongoing ones that I wanted to mention.
Yeah, and they highlight two pretty significant partnerships. Joseph Howe Elementary School, which is in North End Halifax, something that we've probably been involved with for a few years now, and it's just really grown into a real project of love for many of our members who support all the different programs. And not only food are we supporting at Joseph Howe, but we're also supporting them through the partners assisting local
Assisting
schools
local
program.
schools. Yeah.
And then other businesses and nonprofits that are supporting some of the academic functions, or not the academic functions, but some of the support functions that a school like Joe Howe would benefit from.
Yeah. So the last part of what you mentioned speaks to provision of school supplies for the term. So together with Irving Shipping, we were able to provide the school supplies for the entire year for the school so that the school's budget could be used for other things.
What really hit me about that project is that basically every student at that school started the year with all their school supplies.
Correct.
And one of the kind of comments that I had received from someone who's involved in that project is there were even students that were arriving new to the school, and the families were talking with the school and saying, what do I need to get for my kid? And they said, we've got the supplies for you.
Yeah.
And I think that means a lot because life is not always super easy. So this program supports these families so their kids can get the best chance they can when they go to school.
Yeah. And it extends to as well to some levels of what I'll call like mentoring or so it's a support program as well. We provide very well led by Adrienne Malloy, a member of our club, and I wanted to single her out to thank her for the continued effort of we provide some level of tutors to some of the students and for some of the activities in the school coordinated by the school as well. So that is a continuous program we do as well, giving of our time. So again, the engagement by our members to reach this community at Joseph Howe and the parents is just overwhelming. So it doesn't always reflect in numbers alone, but in terms of our time devoted to supporting our community. So I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, and I'm going to do a shameless plug for the public image because we do so many things in this club, and the only way we can tell both our members within the club but the world is by letting the public image team know. So you can send us an email. Pictures are always great. And even if it's just a couple lines of this is what we've been doing this week and this is some of the things that's happening at Joseph Howe or Souls Harbour, that's all really good stuff because it's part of the mission of Rotary is to tell our story. It makes it easier for us when we go back into the community and we look for areas of need, but also when we look for areas or for support, that people know who we are and the things that we're doing.
Yeah. Another area, and another area I just wanted to highlight because it doesn't get that much highlight, but it is an ongoing program under KIVA, KIVA funding for micro enterprises.
And Kiva is an excellent, if people haven't heard about Kiva, I encourage them to check out their website. It is an American organization and they work in American dollars, but the impact is phenomenal. And the idea, just to recap what people do, is you essentially take small amounts of money and loan them. You batch them with other people that loan individual or like you said, small or medium enterprises, small or medium businesses around the world who just need a leg up. And this isn't a gift in the sense you give them money, you don't want it back. They repay it. And so this money comes back and you get part of that loan back, or hopefully all of that loan back, because we want them to succeed. And what's amazing is once that money's back essentially into your account, you can loan it again. So if you do let's say even $25 and you loan them out, it may take 6 months for that money to return to your account, but then you get to loan that again. So now that original 25 is doing the impact of 50. And then again and again. So our club and many of our individual members are participating in that. And I really encourage people to check that out. It's a really cool thing.
And back on the education front as well, Tom, is our support for an international program called the Aninga Project. It's based and it was started in and it's continued to be managed in Halifax. And this year, our contribution of $5,000 went to an overall budget of somewhere around 80 to, the figure slips me right now, but it's somewhere around 80 to $100,000 that the entire program is. So we continue to, as I said, engage with projects that have far reach, for great impact, and it's all based on the community itself as well, because through our major fundraisers, that's how we direct the funds that we raise from the community goes back to community, both internationally and locally. Even one of our other international project activities is something called Shelter Box, which provides, as it says, a shelter for emergency accommodation needs and so on at the international sphere and for emergencies.
That's fantastic. And like I said to everyone, you can visit our social media channels and on our website. We've got a whole kind of collection of updates on all those different things that we do. And a lot of things that we do aren't publicized, but there's a lot happening that contributes to our Million Impact Club. But why don't we talk quickly about meetings and meeting attendance? And I think when we think about Rotary, the traditional Rotary centers around a meeting, and our club doesn't necessarily center around a meeting, but we still do weekly gatherings where we have speakers and we give club updates and things like that. But maybe you can give us a little update of what you've seen over the last 6 months.
We have actually been able to double the meeting attendances. And we thank the Westin, who became a corporate member last year as well. We continue to thank them for hosting us. As part of our street reorientation and looking at, we had looked at our club fees and so on. And what we did and what we have been doing and we continue to do is maintain our fees as low as possible. And we checked around the district as well and in other provinces, even outside of the district. And our fees are actually among the lowest fare, the lower tier. And there's actually a video on it, what they actually cover. So we can look at that and see. But it covers basic minimums. So we depend on other activities to continue to fund the internal account. Now, just to recall that primarily there are two channels. There's the external funding on the external account or accounts, bank accounts, but they're external and there's internal. External money does not fund internal activities. The club has to generate it on its own. Any money raised on the external by the external through the external community must go back to the community. So there's no mixing and matching. There is an administration fee that can be charged to manage the projects.
And I really just want to harp down on the members' due thing, because choosing to keep the dues low, we are breaking down as many barriers of inclusion into our club so that members don't feel like they have to write a huge check every year just to be part of a community that does so much good in the community.
Yes.
So I just think that's really important. And yeah, so getting on to what you want to talk about, being the leadership within our club. So what we do every year, it's a little bit odd, but we have our annual general meeting in the kind of end of November, early December from the previous Rotary year. But one of the challenges, or one of the things that we have to do at the AGM is to welcome new leadership for the next Rotary year. And I want you to touch on what the experience of being involved in club leadership, or why don't you explain what club leadership is and what your experience has been?
Essentially, the club is run and governed and managed by the board. Currently, the board meets once monthly, but in between that, you have different exchanges, different decisions to be made, and so on. So it's a board that takes that responsibility, and the president, by virtue of being at that top leadership level for the board, is the chair of the board directly. We have to operate in the same way even as a corporate entity would, even as a larger entity would, to be able to engage in that kind of governance culture. So it's both, as I said, governance and management. it is an opportunity to not only serve the club and the community, but is an opportunity to get learnings in leadership. It's very challenging at times, and it's very rewarding. I can tell you from my own personal experience, I was the president twice, actually, in here in the Trinidad, in the Caribbean, for a club, for my club. And as a management consultant, those kinds of corporate governance requirements, but this time with voluntary individuals, that's a whole new sphere. So it was lots of challenges, but lots of good due diligence and good understanding and good exposure, as it were. So it's, if somebody who hasn't been on a board, it's a good place to learn, because as well, you're among family, you're among friends, you're among Rotarians who are not going to chew you up as what happened on the corporate world.
Yeah, and I think to give some perspective to most of our members who are not on the board, when we turn up to a fundraiser event, let's say a community cleanup, and you don't, as Rotarian, as committee members, as volunteers, you don't want to be worrying, I wonder, did the club get insurance to do this, or do we have the tools to email everybody so we make sure everybody knows what's going on? That's really handled at the kind of leadership level, but also the administrative level, so that when members have ideas about fundraisers or community cleanups or whatever project they want to do, there's the structure in place that they can go ahead and do it without having to worry about all the logistics that sometimes come starting from scratch. Saying all that, the club needs a functioning board and people who are both willing and able to spend maybe a year or 2 years of their kind of Rotary experience to give back to the club and be part of the board. And maybe you can speak to why that's so important for the functions of our club.
There's also that need for you to bring your expertise to the board as well. So it is a servant leadership bit, because coming onto the board and sitting there and absorbing is not going to help. What we want you to do is come on and use your experience. And it doesn't have to be highly technical in any way. You get that full 360 by getting these innovations, these ideas, even leadership, even project management capability. There are several layers of leadership required. There are several elements of leadership required. There are several bits of expertise. The president doesn't have everything. That'd be crazy. I don't have all the answers. I don't make every decision. The president doesn't have to do that. So your capability may be in a particular area, and the ability of the president is just to coordinate all of that. So certainly it's a servant leadership. That's a good term you use there.
Yeah, and I think this is actually, I mean, not to kind of do a little plug on January being vocational month in Rotary, but vocation is such an important part of what Rotary is, not only in the skills that we bring to Rotary, the skills that we develop in Rotary, but also if there's a skill or an interest that you have that you want to develop, this is a great place to do it. Correct. You have an incredible selection of people in our club who, by definition of being Rotarians, are willing and ready to mentor anyone. And I think about myself, there's a lot of skills that I don't have, but I also have interests that might not traditionally be something as part of my primary career.
Yeah,
so
what is for some of us who don't, some of them who don't know, you're a pilot,
I'm a commercial pilot, which is my day job. And for Rotary, if you think about it, how can a commercial pilot how does that skill transfer into Rotary? Well, commercial pilots tend to be in leadership positions. They tend to be very detailed oriented. And it's not to say that I'm going to come in and do that, but I can support the club in ways that I hope would benefit the club in general. But I also have some project management experience, and I bring that as well. And I should mention, since I'm not going to plug myself the whole time, but I got my project management certification partly from the experience that I had in a volunteer setting as Rotary. And so if you are, for example, getting into your career and project management, as an example, is something you're really interested in, Rotary is a perfect example.
Correct.
a place that you can actually build those skills and experience that you can apply to your certification. And remember I said about being a leader, you can come in and say, you can create your own project. You don't need to wait for your boss to say, do this project. You say, I'm going to create a project, and you can start checking off all that experience. Plus, we have project managers in our club
Correct.
who are ready to mentor and help and be part of your learning experience. So project management maybe is an interesting topic for Rotary, but we also have accountants, we have legal advisors. We can have those, let's say, the traditional kind of professions, but we also have lots of people that have just fascinating backgrounds in communications. We have people that are in transportation. We have people that have been in the service industry. They're the journalists. And we also have people that are very new in their career and really haven't made their long-term decision. This is a great place to both share their skills and learn new skills.
Yep, most certainly. And I like the touch you had on the project management, because most of our projects, service activities are projects. Some are operational, so some are continuous programs, so they're not really just a one project. But at the same time, that's even another sphere. Operationally, what are the things and what are the areas of management that you don't all learn all in university or in a tertiary institution or institutionally? You learn it here on the quote unquote job. So I think we need to look at making our input impactful and the ability to use it in this sphere of Rotary.
Let's take a look at the next 6 months. We're halfway through the Rotary year. What do you see as some of the kind of some goals or some visions you have that to accomplish over the next 6 months?
The next 6 months will see us going out even further, digging deeper into our community, both at the corporate community, and the service community, as it were, to build more partnerships, to execute more. We have already finished the application for a global grant. All of the documentation is in, raising of the funds to support this $100,000 project in Kumasi, Ghana, for the installation of microflush toilets that will affect directly at first 1,500 inhabitants, and hopefully within the next 6 months be able to at least start the project itself, having now raised $100,000. So that's part of our go after. The other thing that we want to continue is the development of our youth. One of our major partners is something called YouthNet, and we will be helping them with achieving their strategic plans through a financial contribution. And we already have 2 persons on the board of YouthNet, so we will continue with support for that. So we're looking forward to that as exciting. We will continue to work with our youth programs, exchange students. We have our dynamic, very energetic exchange student from Italy. We continue until the end of the year, of the Rotary year. And in terms of building for the future, we are also going to be launching a signature event in spring with the West Inn as a collaborating partner. The details of that haven't come out as yet, but they are being built up. So we're looking forward to that. So highlight, first of all, let me talk about a secondary highlight, but another one, which is also big. The Rotary International's convention is being held in Canada this year. We have a relatively large contingent from the district. I understand somewhere around 80 or so. I think there are about 8 to 10 members from our club, so that's 10%. But we're looking at some more. At the end of May, we're going to be hosting the district conference at the West Inn in Halifax. So we understand that the target is probably going to be 300 or 400 delegates. Rotary, the district itself, with membership of about 1,800 persons, 1,800 members, and then all of their connections will know about this as a target audience for our promotions and so on that are going to happen. This is big for us and big for the city as well. We have a couple of surprises that we're working on that we hope that can be launched by the time the district conference comes around. So we're geared up for a lot of activity during the next 6 months. We have the full confidence that we can pull it off because our club has great resources and great resilience. And coming down to the end of the year as well, we'll also have our major fundraiser of RibFest. That's going to be, the details of that are going to be coming up soon.
So what I'm hearing is I'm hearing more impact, but I'm also hearing not just Rotary pushing impact, but partnerships. Because everything you've talked about partnering, whether we're partnering with more people, with the business people within our community, while partnering with other Rotary clubs for a global grant, through our youth development at YouthNet, another partner. The youth programs, obviously, we're supported by our Rotary members in the club, but also Rotary members in our district. Signature event, partnering with the Westin. The convention in Calgary, which is going to be a big highlight in June. Again, that's partnering with all the Rotary clubs in the world. And then in the district, we're again partnering with the Westin and our community members to host a really incredible event for all our Rotary friends and family within the district. Then the RibFest, which is a massive partnership event with sponsors and volunteers.
Yeah. There's another partnership that I wanted to mention too as well. It's a strong one. We are now working with the rejuvenated, for want of a better word, Rotaract Club of Halifax. We are excited for them because in one of their first pitches, they were able to get a grant to build a greenhouse at Parker Street. And we are also working with them on that. So that's also another major exciting area that we're glad. So it's rebuilding the Rotaract Club, which are the younger group just before the Rotary clubs in itself. And it's great to work with the president and the executive and the new members. So I just wanted to say again, this is such an exciting year.
Absolutely. And just for those who might have missed it there, so the Rotaract is a Rotary club. It's called Rotaract. They sit on the same level as Rotary clubs. But like you said, they tend to be a younger generation. They tend to be associated around universities, not always, but tend to be. And a comment that we've heard about Rotaract clubs is they are doers. So Rotary has a lot of traditions and things that are important to us, things that we've let go a little bit because they're not as important as us today. The Rotaract clubs are things that we have learned a lot from by looking at groups of young people who can come together and get amazing things done with sometimes less people and less resources, but they just get it done, which is a lot for us to learn from.
And that's also a major thrust of the district as well, to build up the level of activity and structure and engagement of the Rotaract clubs, because they had, over COVID times, they were one of the casualties, and a couple of changes there. So we are now working with the district with a lot of force and determination to get this back on the go. So we are glad to be supporting one directly, and then at the district level to support it as well.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Dave, listen, we've covered a lot of stuff. We've talked about the last 6 months. We've talked about meeting attendance. We've talked about vocational month and board leadership. We've talked about the advantages of Rotary, both in skills and interests. And then we've touched on some of the big highlights in your mind that's coming over the next 6 months. And there's a lot of stuff. Do you have any final words or anything you'd like to send everybody into the new year with?
There's a kind of a breath of and motto that I want to just embellish, that together we can create this change, right? We embarked on this journey, and we are reminded that Rotary's strength lies in our members, its people, the partners, supporters, all of you, anyone listening to this, anyone you share it with. So that dedication is what fuels our mission to make the world a better place. Any act of kindness, all of this is structured as well to be able to be beneficial, one life at a time. So thank you. Thanks for making this possible, Tom, and thanks for listening.
Thanks, everyone. Really appreciate Dave for joining the Cogs of Community, Rotary Halifax Harbour. And just to remind everyone, you can find Rotary Halifax Harbour in pretty much every social media channel. You just have to search Rotary Halifax Harbour. We have YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, X, Blue Sky. I'm sure I'm missing LinkedIn, of course. and obviously this podcast. So check us out. And if you're in the Halifax area and you want to learn more about what Rotary is, or even if you're not in the Halifax area, check us out, rotaryhalifaxharbour.ca. A lot of cool things. And if you're interested in Rotary or Rotaract, check out rotary.org. Click on the Club Finder link and you can find a Rotary or Rotaract club near you who I'm sure would be willing and ready to hear and welcome you into their group. Thanks a lot, Dave.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.